So this is the Mindo numbers game, powerful mental math game for children, for junior secondary school, for any adult who wants to enjoy themselves. Mindo, it's the African Ludo, African numbers Ludo, made from Africa to the world. Really, it's a powerful numbers game to introduce anyone to counting, calculation, and numbers. Um, These are basically what is contained in a Mindo box: the rule sheet, the cups, three dices. These three dices are made up of two number dices and one function dice, plus the colors, 16 pebbles. They are here. Um, and what they do is the player uses them to execute the result from the function dice and the numbers dice. Let's say, for example, a player throws the two number dices and it gives 3 and 5 or 3 and 7, and then the opponent or the person by the right in the case of group game throws the action or function dice, and it brings out multiplication sign. So it should be 3 times 7, which is 21. So the player who played the numbers dice, who is in charge of playing, will now take his pebble, which may be yellow, and count 21. That's how it works on the Mindo board. Let's proceed. And then now this is the popular Mindo board where everything happens. I would like to mark here. This is, let me use this. Now this is a popular board. What you have here is sorry, excuse me, let me use the brush here. This is the Mindo board, and then this is where all the calculation and the function and the counting takes place. Now if you notice, this is a two-player game. Mindo could be played by 2 players, 4 players, 4 teams, 3 teams. If you notice, there are about 4 sides to the game, and it means that one player takes one side, the other player takes this side, the other one takes the other side, while this one. But if it's a 2-player game, one player just to have to be by this end while the other player stays there, and then instead of sharing their pebbles 4 to 4, because they are 16 with 4 colors, they can share it 8. Now where you have me marking this red is where it's called Jongo. Sorry for my writing. It's called Jongo, and Jongo is the entrance point. When a player keeps getting numbers and using the pebbles to count, he goes round and round the whole box, and comes and enters the next level from Jongo. Jongo is here. If you open your box, you will understand better. Now, how does the counting work in Mindo? Remember, I told you there are about 3 dices. 2 are numbers dices, while 1 is a function dice. When it's a 2-person game, the player who is playing at the point in time holds the number dices in 1 cup, while the opposing player holds the action dice in 1 cup. That's why you have 2 cups. What happens is the player throws, brings out numbers, which is definitely 2 numbers on the 2 dices. Then the opposing player will throw and bring out the action to be executed, on the numbers. Whatever is the result from that action becomes what the player will count. For example, if the player threw his cup out and the 2 dices are showing 4 plus 6, 4 and 6, and the opposing player threw his dice and is showing plus, so 4 plus 6 is 10. The player that threw the numbers will count 10 and then pass the cup containing the two numbers to the other opponent player while he holds the action. So they will keep interswitching and playing the numbers. But if it's a group game, as the player is playing the numbers dices, the person by the right is holding the cup of action, and it flows like that. It keeps flowing like that. As the other person is playing, the other player waiting will also throw the action die to give what to do. Now I will want to, Mindo is a straightforward game, don't it's not confusing. I want to explain 3 functions because the addition function is straightforward. You just calculate the 2 numbers and then the player that threw the numbers dices will play the result, counting with his pebbles and from his own side. The minus sign is straightforward. The lower number takes away from the bigger number, which means yes, if it's 9 and then 4, of course it's 9 minus 4. Then the multiplication number is straight, but remember, if it's 0 showing there, you will not play anything. Or if it's 9 times 0, 9 times 0 is 0, the player will not play anything. So this is the fun that happens in Mindo. A child is frustrated when the game slows him or her down, and is happy when it's going very fast for the child. This is how life is. There are some slow moments, there are some fast moments. That's what you used to teach them life skills based on Mindo. They strategize and think of how to really come up tops and all that. And then even though the throwing of the dice are random, they should strategically throw it so that they know whether they will get a better number and a better deal. Now I will have to explain 3 functions and how they work. I will have to explain the division function. I will have to explain the square function, and then I will have to explain the xx function, the x and x function. Now the division, how division works is if you have the same, let me use the same, or if you have 3 and 7, a player throws and gets 3 and 7, and the other opponent player or the right-handed player throws the action dice and it brings out division. What happens? In a typical school setting, in primary schools, they teach children 7 divided by 3, and they will say 3 remainder 1. But that's not appropriate if you really want to teach a child maths. So what happens in Mindo is that we get the child to convert it to decimal. So 7 divided by 3 is actually 2. When that 1 remains, you add 0 to the 1 and then you use 3 to divide it. So 3 into 10 will still bring out 3. So we tell them it's actually 2.3. And what happens is that we teach them approximation too. When a number is not up to 0.5, it cannot be approximated to a whole. So if the answer is 2.3, the person plays 2, because 0.3 cannot be approximated to a whole. So the person plays 2. But if you have a situation like let's say, yes, 9 divided by 2. Let's say the player who is in charge played and it's 9 and 2 and it's division. So what happens there is 9 divided by 2 is 4. Remaining, they will say 4 remainder 1. So if you add 0 to that one is 10, at the back of that one is 10. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. So you have 4.5, because 4.5 could be approximated to 1. So the player plays 5. I hope that's very clear. And the player counts 5. So you use it to introduce children to approximation. And then this square, this one here, I'm going back to square. Once this sign comes out, the opponent tells the player one number to square. So if it's 0 and 3, the player can say square 0, which means you will not play anything. The opponent can say square 0, you will not play anything. Or the opponent can say square 3, which is 3 times 3 is 9, and you play 9. Then this one here, is play numbers separately. In this instance, this is the only instance where you notice that you have two options, which means in other ones they give you one answer, but in this case you can use your pebble to count the two different numbers shown on the dice. Let's say the player threw the dice, and then what you have there is 7 and 0. So in this case, you use one of your pebbles to count 7, while you use the other one, you won't play anything. Or if it's 2 and 7, you bring out two pebbles, use one to count 2, use another one to count 7. That's fine. Now let me go to roaming around and running in. How it happens is each player will be getting results and playing and going round. This person out here will run round the whole what and enter through the jungle. You start counting from the first boss, and when you enter through the jungle. You will see it on the board. They are written jungle. They are the entrance point. While this person here will enter through this jungle here, the person there will enter through this jungle. The person here will enter through this jungle. That's how it works. And when they enter the next level, they start going right again until they enter through the jungle. But another short and smarter way to win in Mindo, because the winner is the first person who is 4 pebbles enters the winner's spot. Another smarter way is to strategize in a way that your pebble lands on another person's pebble, and once your pebble does that, the person goes back to start again while you quickly enter the winner's spot. It shares this with the Ludo game. Okay, I think we have to move on now. That's basically about what Mindo is about. I've explained it there. If you look clearly, the cups are here. Look, the jungle is here. Jungle is here. So for this person here, this is your entrance point here. For this person here, I think the entrance point is by this side. These are the winner's spots. I think all these pebbles here have entered the winner's spot. You count round. The counting, do not worry. Sometimes Mindo could take them. Sometimes it's so fast, very fast. Before you know, everything is happening so fast. They killing, they crushing, the counting of high numbers. A number, even 9 squared is 81. It flows like that, and it flows like 10 squared is 100. A player can even use one counting to enter up to the red button, and once the person comes here, any number that the person gets can take them into the winner's spot. Now many uses of Mindo. Mindo is a powerful tool for mental maths, for class maths, tasks and fun, for introducing children to numbers, to counting, for extracurricular activities, competitions, different things, for teaching life skills and leadership. Schools who have bought it have told us different uses that they are using it for, and the children are enjoying it. It's a perfect game. So this is it could be a team bonding game. It could be to while away time. It could be for mathematics competition. Mindo could be used for different things. I just want to thank you for taking out this time to go through how to play Mindo.